Cowherd Line News.
So Andy Reid has now taken the Chiefs farther in the playoffs than any other year he has spent with the team since 2013. But obviously we have talked a lot about the cold weather of Kansas City, and that's something that doesn't faze Andy Reid, especially not with the possibility of the Super Bowl appearance this close in sight.
Yeah, it'll be a little chilly, and that's okay. I mean, we're at that time of the year, and you go play. So I don't think it'll be an issue. We've continued to practice outside, and when it was cold, and so it's all part of it. I mean, you just got to adapt.
He's going to downplay it, obviously, and not plant a seed of doubt in the situation. This is not a normal cold game.
Minus 15.
This is going to be the coldest game in history of the stadium. It's going to be cold is an understatement. Last week in New England was cold. It was 26 degrees. That's cold. This is an Arctic blast.
You know, it's like the difference between cold and Chicago cold. Like, I've been in a lot of cold.
Yes.
I've lived in Connecticut. I grew up in the state of Washington. I've lived in Oregon. I've been in a lot of cold. And then there's Chicago cold when the water's coming off the lake.
Yeah.
And you're like, even with a jacket, you come out of like a restaurant or a bar with your buddies, and it's like, oh.
Well, it's just like it hits your face.
Oh, it hurts.
And it's just like James Harrison was saying earlier. It stings your skin. It's another level of cold. Now, granted, both teams are going to be playing in it, but Bill Belichick kind of said the same thing last week. He was asked about the cold, and he said, we're playing the Chargers. We're not playing the weather. Whatever it is, it is. You know, he's making his little Belichick joke there too. But Brady is 24-4, has a 24-4 record in under 30-degree weather. So he is good in the very cold, but this is going to be brutal.
This is going to be brutal. By the way, I am 8-0 on my playoff picks straight up, and I've already got these games picked. I've already got the scores. These two games, predictable. Like last week, I really didn't have a feel for the Saints and the Eagles at all. Like, I remember I went into that game, I said, Saints are going to win, but I think it's going to be really close. Now, I got lucky because I really didn't think it was going to go the way it did. I never thought Philadelphia was going to have them on the ropes in the first quarter. Philadelphia, I thought it would be close, but I thought it would be one of those things, backdoor cover by Philly. They score late, but they're never in it. So that game didn't look anything like I thought. It was just in fact, it didn't look anything like, even with the final score, I never thought the Philadelphia Eagles would control big chunks of that game. But this week, I feel I have strong points of view on both, and I would like to remind America, we are 8-0 so far in the playoffs.
Well, I feel like I might be going the other way than you on these games.
I am throwing out a little curveball. Not giving out my picks.
Okay.
How you influencing.
That's a tease.
I'm teasing people.
Yes. All right, so Antonio Brown has been a member of the Steelers since they drafted him in 2010.
Yeah.
And Vegas has released their latest odds for AB's likely 2019 landing spots. And the 49ers have the best odds, 2-1. And the Jets, Raiders, and Cardinals all come in ahead of the Steelers.
The Jets.
Oh,
Sam Darnold.
That would be fun. I see Miami's on there.
Yeah, you just go to die there. It's just not metaphorically football life. I don't want to see him in Miami.
I don't know. You know, the longer this goes on, the more I think he may end up just staying in Pittsburgh.
He's not going to Indianapolis, so that he's not going there, and he's not going to Dallas.
And I would not be happy to see him in Oakland.
By the way, I want to see the Niners.
I think New York is interesting, and the 49ers are interesting. And I don't necessarily know that the 49ers aren't a bad fit for him. I think that, like James said, when you go to a new place, you are going in with the mentality of this is a new environment and a new start. So if you have how you come in, this is our system, this is how we do things here, this is how this person's treated, this is how this person's treated.
Let me. If I was Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, and I just want everybody to pretend you're Cliff Kingsbury. Okay. So I'm in a division with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. I got to play them twice a year. I'm in a division with Sean McVay and Goff. I'm in a division with Kyle Shanahan and Garoppolo. And I'm Cliff Kingsbury. Would I not? I'm just saying, if I ran the Arizona car, if I was Cliff Kingsbury, and I got to face Russell and Pete twice a year, Shanahan, Garoppolo twice a year. This is the toughest division in football now. And now I got to face McVay and Goff twice a year and Gurley in that O-line. If I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I'm like, I would fight to get Antonio Brown. I got to have a difference maker. I got Josh Rosen. If that thing doesn't work, I'm a joke. I'm out of this league in an hour. Cliff Kingsbury's already decided coaching disadvantage to Pete Carroll,
Right.
to Sean McVay, to Kyle Shanahan in terms of experience. If I'm Arizona, if I'm Cliff, I'm walking into that GM and I'm like, get me Antonio. I'm trying to save my career.
Yeah, and I don't buy into the idea that he is not going to work anywhere. He's far too talented for any team to be like, we're above that. Not at this point. Receivers are so crucially important now. You know, if you bring him in and you set it up from the beginning that this is how we do things, and he buys into what you're selling, that you're going to be fine. So he's already got his money. I just think that this situation with the Steelers has gone south, but I do think it's fixable if they all get in a room. Finally, Freddie Kitchens had his introductory press conference yesterday.
Oh.
And according to Mary Kay Cabot, owner Jimmy Haslam wasn't at the podium and didn't take questions from reporters.
The owner didn't.
The owner did not, which is very unlike his involvement in the previous coaching searches. But Haslam sat in the crowd and he let GM John Dorsey take the reins. And Dorsey says Kitchens will report to him instead of directly to the owner.
Yes.
Freddie and I are going to work together on a day-in, day-out basis. You know, there's a belief of a traditional structure model in place, and sometimes I think that's best. But at the end of the day, Freddie and I are going to make, unbelievable amount of decisions together in unison because we are such like-minded in our thinking.
Yeah, it's his franchise. It's not Baker's. It's not Freddie. John Dorsey, it is his franchise. Front and center, it's his. He is, this is, by the way, I'm not saying it's, in the NFL, I'd much rather have my franchise be my coach and my quarterback over my by the way, it's not to say I don't love GMs, but GMs I think are best served dealing with scouts and owners. I don't think GMs are best served hovering over players and coaches.
I know everyone thinks that we're just hating on the Browns in this situation. The bottom line is the only reason that the Browns are relevant at this point is because of Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
That is the only reason that they are relevant at this point, because losing consistently does not make you relevant. Baker Mayfield makes you relevant.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a traditional power structure. My issue with GMs and coaches, and this is what it comes back to earlier when you were saying we can only fire the coach, you can't fire the players, you can't fire the owner, so it always kind of falls on the coach. Well, if the GM there is constantly involved in both sides of the situation, I'm with you. I just feel like I don't want to know who the GM is.
Okay, Bubba, Chargers have a great roster and a great GM. I never see their guy. Colts have a great GM. I never see their guy. I don't want to see your GM. Dorsey is very front and center. This was, by the way, the knock in Kansas City. He's very competent. But there's a lot of hubris, and I think this stuff is problematic when the GM's hovering over a coach. I don't like it.
Because the coach is the one who's down there on the field with the players, and the players are the one executing for the wins. I understand there's a macro thing that goes on here, but it just feels like there's a lot of power struggle that's continuing to go on here.
I totally agree. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Eric Mangini is going to join us next. From New York. The Jets have a new coach. I like him. And some thoughts going into the weekend, what he suspects happens. He knows New England, coached a long time in New England. His thoughts on the Patriots, the Arctic blast going to Kansas City. Eric Mangini next. Listen up. Life's way too short to spend a single moment of it being uncomfortable. When it comes to